thank you. That was wonderful. We just did a podcast with you on Synchronicity. Thank you for having us.
Your amazing podcast, which is scorching up the charts, it's always, you always amaze me, your influence and your reach, Like, I've known you from day one of this shit.
I know. It's true. It's really true.
It's gotten to the place where I definitely, like, Sean will be doing something else, and I'll go to your podcast, and I'll be like, I need a little Noah medicine right now.
Yeah. I was editing our podcast the other day, and I took off my headphones, and I heard your voice, and I was like, what the hell's going on? And Cass was like, Noah's like medicine to me. And I was like, oh, wow. You've never really described him like that. That's really cool.
When I knew it was real is when I would do that for me. I'm like, I'm either the biggest fucking narcissist who's ever existed, which I am going to have a relatively hard time believing at this point, or there's actually some shit that makes sense here that's healing. So, yeah.
Totally.
I can only take so much
credit. I feel like you're a channel in a way.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, because I think what you're doing and what we're doing is like doing this podcast partly to remind ourselves, we're talking to ourselves. Like we were just talking about when we got off for a second, we were talking about everything that we were saying in your podcast and kind of, just remembering, I'm saying to myself first and foremost, because when you set something and you start saying it and you start speaking it, you can't help. It's inevitable that places that you're out of sync with the things that you're proclaiming, there's like a tension gets brought to that. So it's like a way of saying things, and taking a stand is important, because as you take that stand, you can see where it doesn't say that like, I'm definitely this perfect person, but you, by saying who you want to be and what you want life to be about and what you think life should be about and what's important, you're setting that intention for yourself, where the places that you're out of harmony with those things start bubbling up to the surface faster and faster.
That's what's so great about having Cass as a partner, is like, she's like, you had some really good words on that podcast with Noah just now. And I was like, oh, thanks. I hope so-and-so hears that. And I hope that gets through to so-and-so. And she's like, I hope you hear it. And I'm like, yeah. Totally.
That's the beauty of having a partner who can really like hold the space for you to grow in the ways that you need to grow. Like that's what I found, like when people talk about like soulmates and that type of energy, like I always talk about how I really wouldn't have been qualified to speak about this through direct experience in this lifetime until recently, but like it's this like, that there's this match where you can actually like mirror each other in a very like growth oriented way, which doesn't always mean comfortable, but it means reflect back exactly what you need at the perfect time. And it's fucking awesome. And I think Cass, I heard you say it. What was it about? Like you don't ever hold each other to a limited version of who the other person is. Like you always see each other, even if it's like a heated thing and you pull out of it. I had this experience the other day, and yeah, it's a fucking beautiful thing. It helps you so much. It's like you get the function of duality too, because you also have this like, it's beautiful. I know.
Yeah, like if you're trapping someone in that like lower version of them, you're trapping yourself there with them. And like, who wants to be trapped with the lowest version of someone? Who wants to be trapped in the lowest version of themselves? It's not fun. I mean, tell us about your love. Tell us about your life. I want to hear this.
Because you brought it up, I was going to say the same thing. I was like, are we allowed to talk about your love life? Are we allowed to talk about like, because like, I feel like it was the elephant in the room when you were having like some of your most amazing podcasts and breakthroughs. I'm like, Noah's in love. Like we could talk about and quote all the fucking things we want. He's just in love. It's like, it's coming through. It's opening this motherfucker up,
Yeah, and in all the best ways too. And like one of the best things about love, I think, is you find where your vulnerabilities and weak spots are. And so when you really do find like a real substantial love, you can actually work through those. And it's not relative, it's not relational, it's like unconditional. And you guys have also provided that. I mean, I think the most important thing to understand about any relational love, any partner, anything like that, is all of this shit stemmed from an innate self-love that I really clicked into and stabilized in my life during very trying situations relationally, just like, a lot of shit that you guys were privy to, just like with the divorce and having kids and all this stuff. But just like really trusting and loving yourself, I think leads to the type of relationship that a lot of people may think it's like a romanticized kind of like rom-com view of like fairy tale endings. But there is kind of, as you guys know, an element of that, like a very psychedelic kind of like cosmic lovers tarot card element to this shit. And it exists. And I think when you find people who share a similar awareness to you, that's what I've been noticing with Denise, like, is we didn't think this existed. We thought, like, for as spiritual as we both were, for as aware as we both were, for the variety of experiences we had, for as much as we knew that like unconditional love was like the support of everything, soulmates just kind of felt like silly. It felt like a term that didn't make sense, or it felt like a weird narrative that people told themselves to like maintain some context of a relationship. But we realized pretty quickly that like that's why it works. We had to be so skeptical of something that seems so improbable for there to be a mountain of evidence on a daily basis. Like, we're blown away on a daily basis. We're like, what the fuck? The amount of times we think the exact same things, there's some weird, crazy cosmic coincidence. There's like 50 a day. It's like, it's at this point, it's like, it would be so much work to like go into dissonance with this. I don't know how to describe it. And, you know, I think she gets scared sometimes, and I'll get a little kind of like, whoop, get pings of it. But I mean, that's the sign of a really good relationship, is like when you're working through and going to those danger zones, if you want that real growth, like you work through it.
And knowing
together.
that you can, and knowing that they're like,
yeah, and knowing that you can.
Because if you guys hadn't gotten into a fight yet, I'd be like,
oh my
really
God, that's what I said. That's what I said yesterday, because we got in a fight yesterday about, I was getting impatient because we had somewhere to go do something for a friend, and like a deadline came out of nowhere, and she was helping me with the air conditioner here. And I was like, we need to go. And I don't like having a deadline for anything. I structure my life so I don't have fucking deadlines. That's literally my whole thinking. So whenever one's imposed, it's usually not mine. She was like, I was doing something, and we got in like a 20-30 minute fight, and then had to go like drop off the thing we got for our friend, and then go to Agway and get all these tomato cages to plant these things. And like, we both like got really heated, and like, you know, we are intense and passionate people, and like, you know, we say things, not like mean, hurtful things, but just like intense. But then afterwards, like, we both were commending ourselves, even like this morning. We can't go to sleep angry at each other. Like, we're both fire signs moon, so we want to work through it quickly. But like, we found out what it was about. It was about like really not ever having that be a dynamic that we want reflected towards anyone, children, people we're around, and showing us kind of where our like wounds and trauma was, and how we can help each other move through that. And like, for as intense as it gets, like, we joke that like, we even love that shit. Like, we even love the fights, and like, we're like, I don't know, it's kind of sick, like, you know. And like, but yeah, I mean, you have to have fights. I'm sure there are people who have been married or like been in a relationship for like 70 years or 60 years who've never had a fight. I don't understand how that's possible.
They were in a coma.
I don't understand how you... Yeah, they were in a coma. Exactly. They've been dead. It's a ketamine trip. It's just... No, but I mean, like, that's that passion for people like us, like true like lovers at the core. Like, you need that passion to keep it alive and growth, but there also needs to be that like calm, peaceful stability. And I think that's the hallmark of the relationships we're looking for, whether it's a friendship or an intimate relationship.
Well,
but
like,
yeah,
you knew us when we were in a relationship where we were almost doing the opposite, like where our partner would hold me to my lowest moment, to my lowest self, and not let me, therefore all of us, escape that version of me. So it just grew and grew and grew and turned into this like terrifying monster that I was fucking scared of. And it's like, what the fuck? What am I letting this go out of control for? Like, why am I letting this toxic mixing of people lower my standard for who I am and who I think I am? And, you know, you can easily get caught up in someone else's version of you, especially if they're holding you there and holding you to that and not allowing you the space to evolve or forgive yourself or forgive them. So... Well,
it's your choice.
Yeah.
It's your choice to hold yourself to that role. People are always going to I learned this very quickly over the past year. especially if you actually have aspirations of having any degree of power, which isn't a bad thing, any degree of like fame or awareness or mascot. If you have any inclination towards that energetically, you better fucking understand people are going to be casting you in an infinite variety of roles, and your ability to strengthen your own position and your own true ability to like understand who you are, not what someone else's version of you is. That's the whole fucking game. Like, because it's just like someone is always going to think you're something, and that may not always line up with who you actually are and what you're actually doing. And if you're just subservient to those people's opinions, even if they're uncomfortable, even if they're difficult, like, it doesn't work. It's so unsatisfying too. Like, I learned this. You just can't buy into other people's impressions of you. You need to know who you are. You need to strengthen that. And that takes a lot of fucking faith and conviction. And it's just the most important game. And you don't have to be so serious about it either. Just like, you probably are a pretty chill, cool, fun, awesome person. So
I love and respect and have done so much work with Cass that like I hold her opinion of me in such high regard that I like use it as a barometer for how I need to change. Like, I know that if I'm acting like a fucking junkyard dog for too much and I see Cass becoming like a little tight over it, I'm like, oh shit. Like, and she'll speak up. She'll fucking tell me how it is and where the adjustments need to be made. And I do my best. I'm not always great, but I feel like lately, kind of since the quarantine resensitization, I've been able to have like really, really long times without having any kind of what I'd call like some freak out, like meltdown. Just that feeling where you're like, fucking everything's out of control, or, you know, like, God damn, what the fuck, you know, just that like, oh, like I'm basking in victimhood right now. Like, I haven't really, I don't know. I'm becoming more aware of when I'm doing that. So I don't want to do it that often, because I'm like, that's not a good well to keep going back to. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, Cass is really good at holding space for you. I think like the definition of like my friend Carrie, who's Kelly McLean's mom, Carrie she had a reading for Denise, and she said, you know, like, the idea isn't to find someone like who isn't crazy. It's just someone who's the perfect crazy for you. Mm-hmm. And like, that's what this is. It's like that level of crazy matches up where it actually helps you and you're in tone. And like, I witnessed this couple who there's some like bizarro version of they took way too much acid. They're like party people, and they just clearly outlasted everyone into this nightclub scene because they just were the last people at the end of the night. They ended up at this, you know, bonfire the other night. They're very nice people, but they're on planet dimension 5347352. I don't know, like, they're out there, man. They got the Big Bertha, Grateful Dead LSD, and they got sheets of this shit, and they're just out there on planet X. Any other combination of people, these people would be on the streets. I think they might have been. I think she was actually telling us a story where she was saying she actually might have rescued this guy from the street. I don't know. But they were the perfect combination for each other, that they were fucking doing it. Like, they were doing it and thriving. And I think what really that requires is to truly, like, just let yourself be who you feel like being. Yeah. And like, you do attract in that, like, the reason you guys are together is you both had an ideal of what the perfect relationship looked like. That doesn't mean anything other than this is the perfect relationship, and the duration of it will continue to be this perfect relationship. That's all it requires. Just a deep, substantial knowing of that. And then just don't freak out when it comes your way. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, you guys know it when you know what it's like. You know what it's
well, and it's a beautiful thing to like finally accept that you're in the perfect relationship, because it's so easy to get caught up in what's not going well, or if only he would change this, or only he would do this differently, then it would be the perfect relationship. No, it's like, it's the perfect relationship because he does that, because he's a fiery person who will let me steer the ship most of the time, and then once in a while have a temper tantrum and like freak the fuck out, but he's helping me guide the ship in the right direction. And I can't judge how he does it, because I like that he lets me steer the ship all the time, and that I get the freak out, the fire in him that's like, no, this is what's really important. And then I like it because I can take this new information and then like adjust course at my pace, but he shares his intentions. And at first I was like, oh, I hate that he will have a freak out or whatever. But then when I realized how it serves me and it helps me and how I've become a better person because of him and been able to transcend maybe some of the defenses I have. Like, I'm a super defensive person, and it's still a dance I'm doing, but yeah, it's a really beautiful thing. And I think a lot about you, Noah, and the bravery, the courage. I don't know. I feel like you at some point decided or realized that you had a hungry heart, and that you were in a relationship that had served you, but that was no longer in alignment with where you were going. And you tried to, with your partner, maybe get to the place where you could go the direction your life was going to go with that person, but then, and realizing that, oh no, this is like the moment where things split. And you, without having a partner, a mistress or whatever.
An apartment.
Nothing.
An apartment.
A place to go.
Nowhere. Nothing.
You're like, I'm going to go move in with my sister or whatever it is that you did. Like, you took that leap of faith with your hungry heart that said, there's something for me. There's something that's going to feed my soul and feed my purpose here. And I'm on a quest to find it. And it's so beautiful, and it has been so beautiful for us to witness, because it's one of the things that you've said to me that's really stuck with me is like, don't bet against someone, because if you do, that's like coming back to you. And then also, you've been a guidepost in, I know and I feel you rooting for us. I feel how you root for your friends. I feel how you want everyone.
I feel like we feel that from Noah in a way that like other people like talk the talk, but like we feel it like on that cosmic level with Noah. We're like, he actually does want us to succeed. There's no jealousy. There's no fucking nonsense. It's just fun.
No, and I think that's misinterpreted a lot because it is so rare. But what it comes from, and I really hope people understand this, is like when you get this shit, you're good. You don't have to worry about losing something. You're not in competition with other people. And it's not like this weird game you have to trick yourself into do with like this fucking meditation or whatever it is. It's like, no, you're good. You literally are good in everything that's going to happen into your life, like flow into your life. And you're truthfully in the driver's seat of that. And that's the fun of this realm. It wasn't the dominant game or reality for most of history as we know it, but it is now, and it's apparent to a lot more people than it's ever been, at least that we know of. And that's what, you don't have to be defensive. You don't have to freak out. You can be cool as fuck. Also, when you're not cool as fuck, when something like jealousy flares its head, I love that you guys saw me go through that in the beginning stages of this relationship.
Oh,
like,
dude,
I
that
literally
was incredible.
It was insane.
I feel like you watched me go through something, watching you go through something because of my just such like reaction to it. Like,
no, and it was perfect. It was perfect. It was literally perfect. Like, because it allowed me to indulge and experience every aspect of what that energy could have been in the relationship, but it was like weeding it out like really quickly. And that's how I like to do stuff. And I think that's just like what I think a lot of people gravitate towards too in my energy. It's like, once I see that something like is a weed, I don't judge that that's a plant and it deserves to grow there and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to weed it. I have something to plant there. It's okay. I'm not doing something bad. I'm not going to do this everywhere in the world and just rip shit up. But like, we got stuff to plant. Let's plant some good shit, especially if like we have a desire that's really true and powerful and really feels in resonance, which is like, you have to find that first, but it can be even a small thing that you need to tug at that thread. You have to pull that, because if you don't, you're just doing this fucking unsatisfying dance until you figure that out. So just pull the fucking thread. Really imagine who you would like to be in your perfect world. And even if it seems, I know the shit that I will experience. If I said this out loud to most people, they'd be like, all right, Noah's taking this imagination thing pretty far. And there's been some incredible results up to this point, but that's insane. Like, that's really insane. And truthfully, what my ultimate vision with this shit is that like everyone gets this shit. Because when everyone gets it, we don't even have to have conversations about how this shit works. We're just doing it. We're just like, everything's great. Everything's in harmony. Boom. If this person's a little fucked up, we don't have to figure it out. Boom. We'll just solve that there. And not in like some utopian, static, boring realm. It gets so much more complex, mysterious, fun, hilarious. You can go into the spectrum of sadness and grief if you want to. Like it's more intentional rather than feeling like you're just getting like dragging through shit. So
what do you think is the most effective way of introducing these concepts to somebody who might just like right be on the cusp, like might understand the words you're saying, but they're like, how would I,
it's so easy.
So many tangible examples.
Yeah, it's so easy. I mean, like the truth is I give the personal experiences as much as possible in my own life, but the truth is you just have to test it. That's the best part of this. It's not like, oh, you have to meet this prereq. You have to do this thing and that thing and boom, boom, boom. And you have to be this type of person. You have to have this amount of training and knowledge. It's just like, no, literally just test this very simple principle, which is, listen, when you smoke weed, when you do ketamine, when you're on psychedelics, when you're going to sleep, when you're groggy, even if you ate a big meal and you're like, oh, I shouldn't eat that much food, rather than think that, just be like, oh, great, I put myself into an amazing state of like drowsiness where I'm going to probably fall asleep. You don't even have to be that specific about it. You can be pretty fucking lazy once you click into it. It's kind of like a duck pin bowling where there's bumpers. You can't really fuck it up too much. Like you really like just direct your consciousness towards what you would like to be and how you would like to feel. The easiest thing to test for a logical, analytical type of mind who's going to be the person who's like questioning this still at this point, construct a clear and vivid mental scene in that state of grogginess as you drift to sleep that implies whoever you would like to be or whatever you would like to have. Some simple scene that implies that's true. Just like it could be like, let's just use a really basic example. It could be metaphorical. It can be literal. Let's say you wanted a new vehicle. You wanted a new car. You don't imagine like going and buying the new car and blah, blah, blah. You could maybe imagine throwing the keys at the, place where you throw your keys when you walk in your house or apartment. That's all. Something with the logo of the car that you bought. Just something simple. Rather than visualizing it or hearing it, which are all great, feel how it would actually feel and just replay it loosely, casually. It doesn't have to be this big fucking to-do. It's not some holy space. Just do that. And eventually what happens is you'll subconsciously accept it. Higher self will deliver it, whatever. Your reality, and this is how reality always works, will be reconstructed to serve that subconscious belief, that intuitive wisdom belief, and some magical set, usually magical, what feels magical set of circumstances with very little action externally on your part. These things will happen. And then after a certain point, you're like, oh, this is how shit works. And then when you're going to sleep, if shit's a little wonky, if shit's been a little weird, trust me, there's ample evidence in my life these days of this happening on various days. You go to sleep in the confidence that it's going to be resolved in the perfect way, and you persist in that belief, and eventually you stop fighting with yourself so much, and shit just kind of works out. And then you can watch people react to shit working out for you for a while. And you can be like, whoa, some people are cool with this. Some people do not like this. Some people don't like the implications of what this could mean, what it represents. But enough people, I think, when they see you doing well, and they see that it's not a trick. There's not like some secret persona where I go like turn off this thing and I'm like, fuck everything. This fucking, like it's pretty consistent throughout. People are like, all right, there's got to be something there. Let me test this shit. But honestly, it's literally just test it. Just do it at night. Do it when you're going to sleep. It's literally the easiest thing.
And I mean, the trick is though, in part, investing in a positive future rather than a negative future.
Well, you're doing it anyway is the truth. Yeah. This is just proving it to yourself. You're just putting awareness on the active mechanism, which is your state of consciousness. The whole premise here is that your consciousness is God. Mm-hmm. Every God you ever read about, every goddess, everything, it's literally just your sense of I am. That's what they're talking about. Can also be all those other things, historical, Jesus, whatever you, sure, great, wonderful. But that's it. So test it. Just test if it's true. Everything that was true of God is true of you. Do you have everything? Are you an omnipotent being capable of literally everything in duality, from the worst acts to the best acts? Of course. Are you trapping yourself in a prison of your own design? Sure. That's okay. Are you succumbing to the demons you created and want to transcend? Great. Whatever. Just like it's you. And then when you really start testing it and it starts making sense, you're like, oh shit, I don't evaporate into nothingness and have to go not have a body anymore. That's what I used to think. I thought like if you got to this point basically where everything is pretty much working out all the time, even when it seems like it's not, and you understand how to deal with that energy, I'd be like, oh, you'd probably just like evaporate, you'd die. And I'm sure there's some reality where I'm keeling over every 2 seconds of a brain aneurysm, but like not this one.
Yeah.
I'm lucid, I'm talking, I'm awake in this dream.
Well, I
wake up.
Still some work for us all to do, because there's work for you to help collectively help other people wake up, which your podcast clearly does for people.
Yeah.
And I think that as we wake up, we are faced in this current reality with a beautiful opportunity to co-create a reality that is more harmonious and loving and
well, that's what I think of. It's funny because I've heard Noah describe this a million times, and I love just catching up with the way that the words you'll use to describe this. And every time I make different analogies, and this time, as you're saying the words, I'm like, oh, he's talking about having a more positive and harmonious conversation with God. Because we're having that conversation anyway. So, I mean, this does take work, but it's not something that's not available to every motherfucker out there. Totally is, you know.
You just need proof.
Yes, exactly. It's somewhere to point your faith.
You just need to prove to yourself. Mm-hmm. That's the whole thing. Like, we're doing it anyway. It's like, that's the whole thing. It's not like, oh, when I get to this point, then I'll start manifesting the things I believe in. It's like, no, your reality is literally a reflection of your state of consciousness. The thing that I think fucks some people up is they really believe in the past. They really believe that shit is real, because I can write something down, or we could record something and put it out later. We're like, the past is real. Clearly it extends until our entire memories. It's not real. It's totally malleable. It doesn't exist. Time doesn't exist. We're stretching it out like silly putty and running out this script.
Which means the old you doesn't exist.
Ever. Unless you want it to. But that, I find people get really attached, myself included at times. Whenever I say people, rest assured, it's definitely something I've gone through or I'm going through. You get attached to these old versions of yourselves. I learned this with music. Music was a really potent teacher for this, but also like physical exercise and shit like that. You get attached to, oh, I can't run because my knees hurt, or I always play the same chord patterns, or I can't do this one lick. And you start believing this, or I always get addicted to this thing, and my relationships always look like this. So you start believing it, and then other people around you are like, yeah, man, you can't do that. Well, you can't, it's not it's all reflected back to you until you get to the point where you're like, maybe if I just go, I can do this, and do that simple technique, or go back to the time you couldn't do it in your imagination and go, oh, I did it perfectly then, that ripples forward, or you make the change in present time, or you create the future, or you walk into it. Any one of those things are effective at like showing you that you just transcend it quickly. Like, and then it's fun. And then it's really, this reality gets as wild as your imagination. And most people here seem to have pretty wild imaginations. Like,
what do you, like, where does it, do you find that people get overwhelmed? Because I feel like right now, especially with, coronavirus and the necessary need for change in structural and systemic change, especially when it comes to being anti-racist, can feel really overwhelming to people, and be like, oh shit, like I fucked up, like I'm on this timeline because I fucked up, because I'm so fucked up on the inside. Like we have to be anti-racist out here because there's racism in our heart that maybe is learned behavior or whatever it is. And how is it that we come to this place where you see everything outside that you're like, oh my God, am I responsible for things going in this direction? Am I responsible for this fucking virus? Am I responsible for all this?
Yes.
And then how do you take on that responsibility, the burden of that responsibility, and transmute it to something positive? I mean, I know my tricks and I know how I do it, and I know, but I'd love to know how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, you wake up to the realization that you're God, and God would have to bear that responsibility. And it doesn't mean you have to act as some fucking person responsible for everything, even though you are. But in your reality, your conception of it creates it. So if you have a conception of reality that's bleak and dismal and not great, you're going to experience that reality. That's what this is. It's a canvas, and you can tune into any aspect of this reality. Does that mean we can't all discern that there are systemic injustices in 3D reality that need to be rectified? Of course not. But if it means that our imagination creates it, we then have a very powerful tool to gaining maybe the necessary resources to buy political influence, any number of things. We could just like, this shit could all collapse and then we're the new leaders, whatever it is. There's any number of infinite possibilities that lead you to the point where this reflects how you feel. Now, the best part of this is when we react intensely to shit out there, whether that's someone punching our mom in the face, some shit that's so just objectively horrible, that's us. There's some aspect of us where we are doing that to ourselves. And this is a very difficult lesson for people. I use the pedophile example, where it's not like you see someone being a pedophile, you're a pedophile inside, but there's a part of you that whatever energy led to that person to express something that's out of tune with everything around him, that probably led to very negative, quote unquote, consequences in his lives and the increased suffering. It wasn't skillful, right? There is something there inside of you where that energy exists as well, because you're everything. That doesn't mean you're just everything good and nothing bad. That's not how it works. This is duality. You're literally everything. But you get these wonderful opportunities of looking at situations and being like, wow, if I can just not react to the objective horror that's going on here, but subjectively implant the beauty in this and the perfectness of this, chances are, if I can really believe that this is going to flip into something beyond my wildest dreams, like just absolutely like more in resonance than something I wanted, and, you know, feels more empowering, which is ultimately a sense of community. It's a sense of connection. It's a sense of grace, of balance, of stability. That's what people want ultimately. Like, it's not hard to figure out. When people react negatively, it's because they're trying to use external reality like a gun to get some. It's like having a gun. Trying to get something from external reality is like having a gun and putting it to someone you really like and be like, love me. Even if that person was destined to love you, that's not how it's going to happen. No one is going to feel like, hey, oh, I love this person now because they have a gun to my head. They may even feel attached. It doesn't matter. It's not love. Like, you're not giving them a choice. So you just have to, like, you know, you have to fall into yourself at the end of the day and know you're a good person. So, like, if you incarnated in a reality where bad shit is happening, it's probably your function to, like, stabilize your shit and make it a better place, but not feel accountable for making it a bad thing.
Right.
Like,
it's an incredible opportunity that you're saying, because as we hold the gun less to ourselves, we will hold the gun less to other people. And
you have to do it like that.
And also find it in ourselves to point out, oh, look, this is where a gun's being held to people. This is not how we do things anymore.
It's a role to you bind people in by doing that, right? Like, you're binding people who are racist. If we believe there are racists, this doesn't mean by not believing in racism, they go away instantly. But if we believe there are racists that need to be stamped out, there will forever be racist. It's like getting towards a wall, but always going half as close to the wall. You'll never hit the wall. You'll literally never hit it. You're going to be infinitely going just a little bit closer, but never hitting that wall. To take those bigger steps, you have to, like, free people of being racist. You can say, you know what? These people acted like complete shitheads for thousands of years, for hundreds of years. They've demonstrated nothing but the greatest of incompetence and just heartlessness. But you know what? They're not racist. That's some other fucking energy that they're processing. They had to process this weird kind of gross energy.
Like, that's a polarity from an old paradigm.
Yeah.
In the new realm that we're building out here, that's not even on the table. We understand why that cropped up from the old system, because that's what it was meant to do.
Yeah.
But really, no one wants to really fucking behave that way when it comes down to it. And let's offer people a wide berth to come back home, you know, to figure out who they are again and how they want to function in society and what they have to offer beyond anger, hate, and separation.
Yeah, the opportunity that we're finding, like what Noah's talking about, is for us to expand each other's consciousness. And that's why, podcasts are probably so much a thing, is because you can visit with other people, they can share their ideas, and then you can expand your ideas of how things can be and should be. And that's what's going to happen. You can't necessarily make a racist smaller, because you're just going to make them angrier. You have to expand their heart with compassion. And sometimes that's by scaring the shit out of them, but then I think there's, like, a lot of tactics and But ultimately what needs to happen is expansion.
Well, expansion on your end, because there's, like, as we've learned, there's only so much you can do to impart something on someone else that, it's not going to get through to them. You're not going to change them. But if you change yourself to encompass love and compassion for them, that starts to bring the bird out of the cage a little bit.
No, that's it, because you're God. That's how this works. This is what people don't, that's the responsibility and accountability that people want to dance around usually. I know I did it. When you really get this shit, without that sounding egotistical, like, you're responsible for how people, if you are the person who really understands this, you will get the reactions from your world that validate that. If you're the person who kind of believes this but isn't really sure, you rest assured there's going to be plenty of situations to infiltrate you with doubt. There's going to be plenty of situations where you really imagine something. You want that so bad. You want world peace. World peace. You imagine it so good. You can feel it so good. And it's just, where is it? Where is it? And then you'll constantly be testing yourself. When you want to know how you feel world peace, you know it's an inevitability. You know it doesn't even matter if it happens in this version of your life. It's irrelevant, but you know it's an inevitability. That's where it goes. And when that's the place you're operating from, you're also not trying to figure out the ways and means that you get to world peace, because that would be infinitely complex and impossible to like suss out consciously and logically. And you just click into the groove of, oh, I'm in the world peace groove now. That's where this is. Right? Yeah. I mean, it's a much more precarious place to be, because you have to accept everything in life not accept everything. That's not the right. You need to accept the parts of reality that are in resonance with what you really believe in, and truly reject. You want to know why my life works out so well? My tolerance for shit I don't like these days is so low. Yeah. I do not tolerate realities where shit isn't working out for me. And I know that can sound childish and immature. It's not. I trust myself enough to know that what I'm out of resonance with is not what's best for me or the people around me. Truthfully. Yeah. Not because I'm a baby, not because I'm a selfish prick, not because I'm a fucking asshole, although there's going to be plenty of evidence that those are true.
No, it's because you're well-tuned. I can feel that. Yeah. You've tuned your instrument, and you know what a bad note feels like, and you don't want to be around it.
And that's it. And I know that like these big macro situations where people feel out of tune with it, it's all good. I know that sounds like... these systems inevitably lead to everyone doing what they're exactly supposed to do. And I just don't judge people for the roles that they play, even racist. That's the first thing you can do to like really change someone's behavior. Not change, but allow that space. What Cass is doing for you, Sean.
Like,
she's holds, you know what I mean?
No.
It's just what Denise does for me, what I do for Denise, what you do for Cass. Like, you provide the space and the soil for them to plant the versions of themselves that they want to be.
Well, she would never say, you're an angry person. She would hold space for me to realize I was angry and I don't want to be like that anymore. And that's so much more powerful, because then we're not fighting about it. It's just something that I have to accept and incorporate and integrate if I want to have a good relationship with this girl.
Well, also, you finally told me, like, I mean, I have a hard time not saying you're a fucking asshole sometimes.
That's okay.
I get that too. Don't worry.
And I really feel like I've stopped saying that as much, maybe because you're less of an asshole, but also because I realize that I don't want to like use bad language towards you. Like I like, you don't call me a bitch.
No.
You know what I mean? You never call me a bitch, but sometimes I just can't help it. I'm just like, you're a fucking asshole.
Well, you're not a bitch though. I am an asshole.
Yeah, that's the feminine rage too. Also, like, don't undervalue the burning feminine rage that I think that's been my superpower as a man, and I think that's partially something all of my partners have respected, because I get here there's a lot from it, like, I understand that feminine rage, and I understand what it's like to unleash it on someone, and there's wisdom in that too. And sometimes it is calling an asshole, and sometimes it is just like really like putting something in its place. I think the divine masculine most of the time is getting a good old slice of humble pie these days, like in most relationships, regardless of where the energy is.
Which requires listening. It requires fucking having enough discipline, focus, and wanting to connect, the desire to connect, that you're willing to put your outward expression of your ego down for a little bit and listen to your surroundings and listen to what this woman's not only expressing with her words, but her actions, the way she moves around the house, the things she wants to do, how she operates every day. You know, is she doing good? Does she want to exercise? Does she want to meditate? Like really listening to the rhythms of your partner and really listening to what their soul is yearning for. And because you're going through the same thing, you want the same fucking thing. So why not start listening to your partner, this beautiful sacred mirror that you invited into your life? Like instead of it having this this cartoonish thing, I think that we really get taught through culture too, like this sitcom-ish, like kind of. I see a lot of my more, I don't want to. This sounds judgy, but like my more basic friends. Like love all of the like, oh, the old ball and chain, like that type of behavior about their partner. Like, oh, let's see if I can get away from the girl this weekend. I could really like this whole like, I don't know, just this thing I feel like culture's put on us. Like, oh, what? They're such a fucking pain in the ass. And I'm just like, no way would I ever want to talk about Cass like that. Cass is me. She's such a big part of my identity. I wouldn't want to talk about myself like that.
But that's what it is. You get that. You get that. If someone is expressing that in their closest of relationships, that is what they're saying about themselves.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, that's their own unrest.
It's their own shadow stuff that they don't want to deal with, that they have found a convenient way of, on a regular daily basis, put it on someone else. And that's a really clever trick. And that's what we do in every situation that we don't want to deal with for the most part. We either cling to an identity that's the opposite of it, or we use it as fuel to kind of like solidify some aspect of ourselves that, you know, we don't want to deal with yet. So we crystallize it, you know?
Yeah, there can be like an exporting of rage or crankiness or wherever our state of being is. And one of the hacks I found, and I don't even need to use this right now, but I remember like just being in a pissy mood where Sean was pissing me off or whatever it is. And I just like was like, I have a headache. You know what I mean? Like this is like probably a trick I've used like twice in our relationship, but I still think it's a valuable trick.
And she's told me to use it. That's how honest she is. She's told me to use this trick.
Yeah, where it's like, look, I'm in a bad mood. Everything you say or do is going to annoy the shit out of me. And like, let me extricate myself from this situation, but not make it your problem. Like take
She's already used this on me so much. I'm an idiot though. Like, and I fully accept it too. Like most of it is like the exception to the rule is me being right. And I fully embrace that in so many ways. It doesn't mean I'm never right. And it doesn't mean I don't pretend like I'm right all of the time, but it means like there really is a power to understanding that your partner has some insight into how you are that you probably won't be able to have as easily. And it can be told, you could be like, yeah, that's right. That sounds right. You could be like, no, I never thought about it like that. But like, they're giving you a glimpse. That's what these are. They're mirrors, right? And this is like, you asked like, how did I know? Or like, how did I get, you know, invite this energy? And to be clear, like, I know a lot of people think this, just even probably amongst my close friends. And like, I literally, like when I left the house, it was exactly like you guys said it. Like I had nothing. Like I had my sister's place to go to, a backpack full of clothes. My kids were at this place. There was no relationship waiting for me. There was no anything really there except the knowledge and confidence that like I knew that this was the right thing to do. But because I started to like really give myself the qualities of what I would want in a perfect relationship, that person popped up in my life in a perfect way that, you know, to this day, it astounds me. I just didn't even know it was possible for this to exist in the world and just like on the spectrum of feeling. And it's just a constant reminder. I tell her this all the time. I'm like, listen, even if any of the other goals that I've set in my life don't happen, like in any way, shape, or form, like I already fucking won. Like the odds of literally finding someone who's able to match your resonance in such a harmonious way, like the odds against that statistically, you could win fucking Mega Millions 1,000 times in a row and it would still pale in comparison to that. It's like the size of, you know, an individual human to like the galaxy. It's like a infinitesimal probability, and it happened really quickly too, and it was completely based on me being like, I love myself. Like, I'm amazing. I'm attractive. I'm hilarious. I'm cool. I'm confident. I'm sexy. Like, all of the fucking shit that I would want in someone else. I said, wouldn't it be amazing? I just gave it to myself. Sure enough, you start vibrating at that frequency. And that's the trick of life. That's how you can resonate with people who are low vibration, who are expressing hatred, poor self-images, outwardly doing fucked up shit. It's how you can go and chill and play a note that's maybe not the exact same note, but one that's a higher octave up that sounds like it's in resonance. Tune them up to that. It's just a step up. So like that's how we do this shit, is with our feelings and giving ourselves those qualities, and it's foolproof.
Man, I think about that. The first time that you, it's kind of eerie and cool and justifies what you're saying in a way. The first time you smoked DMT was over here, whenever, probably like October or November. And like you're going into the most vulnerable, like source code state you could possibly be in. And we were blasting that song, Higher Love. And it's like, bring me a higher love. And look what happened with your life, man.
I knew it at the time too.
We were all obsessing over that song. Like we were all like using that song in our community. Like this is something we want to tune into, a higher love. That's what this is all about. And then like you started finding it on the physical plane, and it was like, wow, man.
That's what he's talking about in that song. I mean, also Dear Mr. Fantasy, right? I mean, just a great song from Traffic, but like also like he literally talks about, I can make the sunshine from pure desire. Like he literally he's not joking. When Steve Winwood wrote this song, you rest assured wherever he was getting that lyric from, he knew that day he made the motherfucking sun come out. And I'm sure there's plenty of people listening, and you guys have done it too, where you can clearly see your state of consciousness matches perfectly the external weather of your world. And you know that there is a connection there. Maybe you're not the full cause of, but you're clearly a part of what you're experiencing out there. And like, that's what imagination is. That's what consciousness is. That's what God is. And like, it's incumbent on everyone to prove it to themselves. And like, it just gets too uncomfortable not to. It's not even like you have to do this because it's so serious. It's just like at a certain point, you're like, I would rather just do this. It's like that can really be it. It doesn't have to be this big fucking serious thing. It can just be like, this sucks. I would rather not.
Totally, because I think what's being called out now too collectively is that silence is saying something. Being quiet right now is saying something. So if you live your life thinking you don't co-create, you're still co-creating your life. You're just co-creating it from a place of thinking that you don't need to do anything, or you don't want to do anything, and you're going to see that come back towards you. And so it's it's just what you're saying though, Noah, is like we are imagining our reality, and it's where do you want to point it? How do you want to direct it? And I think we're all trying to get on the same page together, because even though there's not one utopic reality, which I had to totally unmarry myself from, because I thought that there was like some utopic vision of the world that we could all work towards, and then I realized no, there's my utopic version of the world.
Correct.
And that is not in alignment with everyone else, and that's okay.
Couldn't be also. Yeah,
there's no way it could
function.
Be.
Yeah.
So it's also like releasing attachment to exactly how I want the world to be, but I can have a larger vision for how I want people to feel. I want people to feel safe. I want people to feel cared for. I want people to feel creative. I want people to feel like there's opportunity. I want to feel like there's so many wishes and dreams and desires I have for myself and other people that I don't think that there's one version of reality that leads to that, but I think there is a way that we can all move in that direction, and that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone is taught at a Montessori school or this happens or any particular thing. Yeah.
It's accommodating versions of reality that other people want to play out. Like, I've known this as someone for as spaced out and as crazy as I am. Like, just to be clear, I fully expect the NFL season to start relatively normally amidst COVID and global riots. I expect to watch the Dolphins play this year. I expect to watch, Ryan Fitzpatrick get hurt within the first quarter of the season and Tua come out and, do some fun stuff. Like, I am comfortable moving through the different modalities of reality in a way that, like, I get the juice of it all. Like I'm not thinking we're going to on-ramp quickly to an end of everyone's suffering. People also come here to suffer, not because they're fucked up, but that's like judging someone's kink. That's like judging, like, because someone likes to get pissed on, being like, oh, they're weird. Ugh, they're so gross. Just because you don't want to get I don't want to get pissed on right now. Okay, I don't have to
maybe
define
later.
myself. Yeah, maybe later. Who knows? You got to leave it open. Can't ever be shut up. The trick is, this is a real manifestation trick, is don't say you'll never do something or you're disgusted by something. I guarantee you will find yourself in a situation where either you or someone you love, you have to accommodate that behavior. So that's why I said, listen, P, if you're into it, that's great. But it doesn't, like, you don't judge someone's version of reality. That's not your job to do. If you want to play that game, what you're going to be doing is judging the fuck out of yourself until you realize it's not a fun game to do, because everyone else out there, man, that's just your image of them. So if you're judging them, they're this type of person, they're not nice to you, they don't do this, blah, 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 you're just saying it to yourself. They're just running out that character. They don't even have any power. They're just like these fucking characters that you're running out there that are reflecting back what you want to hear through their mouths. You can't even be mad at them. It sucks that joy out of it too. Like, you can't even be mad at the people who are dicks to you anymore. It's like, fuck. It's me? Ugh.
Yeah. Oh, it was
do you want this shit along. Now? Ugh.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Fuck.
That whole it was me all along is like the self disarming, like, oh fuck, I have less weapons, I don't want to use these weapons if it's me. I actually have compassion for that motherfucker.
Yeah, even if they're fucking reflecting back the worst version of me, shit, I honor them doing that role, and I also hold fast to the vision that they won't be bound by that reality. Because if you just keep holding people to shitty versions of them in your head, you're the asshole. Yeah. That's how this works. Then Cass has to come out and say, you're the asshole to all of us.
Oh, so. Yeah. Oh, totally.
And then I have to find out that I'm the asshole.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
You're a little sweetie.
I'm sure little sweeties aren't calling other people assholes, though.
Yeah. You always get what you need in life. That's right. Isn't the Rolling Stones? You can't always get what you want, but get what you need.
Oh, yeah, man.
The trick is just matching them. Just match them. That's where you know what I knew me and Denise were of like mind is, there's a saying, you can't have your cake and eat it too. And my entire life, I'm like, that saying makes no fucking sense. Of course you can. I have my cake and I'm eating it too. What do you mean? I do it all the time whenever I have cake. And she's like, I've literally been going around saying this to people my entire life. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And I think it's reflective of just how we view the world, which is, yeah, you can. Don't tell me I can't fucking have a good time and be a good person and feel great. Yeah, I can. Like, especially if you tell me I can't, then I most certainly can. Tell me that there's a limit on enlightenment and bliss. Please go reflect that to me so I can fucking show you that that's not true. Like, I live for that shit. So
we have all these little sayings and stories and tendencies to really like limit our experience. And that's the selfish thing we do when we try to pull other people into our experience, into our hellscapes, or into the kingdom of, like Cass was saying, like my kingdom of heaven, if I was taking Cass hand in hand to the kingdom of heaven within me, she might be fucking scared shitless when that thing opened. Because it has nothing to do with what her kingdom of heaven would look like or be. But I think it would feel the same.
It would feel the same. That's the truth. That's the truth. Even if it looked like flying pig monsters with vomiting bile, it would still feel the same. That's where you got to... I really had a ketamine trip the other day where I had this really weird thought that like we're these self-creative avatars of organic matter that we alchemize suffering through like organic things we put into our body and the air we breathe and these relationships. And then our waste, our like pee is like this alchemical gold that they use to harvest and like use as like this water to like level up and like travel through dimensions. And it was a ketamine thought. And it was quickly like followed by like ketamine wore off. Thank God I'm not going to live in that reality for the rest of my life. But I was like, you know what? Like I went there. That was a place. Yeah. That's real. That's someone's fucking reality somewhere. And if that feeling led to like a place of satisfaction and bliss, which I believe for me was enough to like make me go to the bathroom, which is what I was trying to do. I was like, you know what? All good. All good.
I'm going to hit this bong. That's what we were doing between our two podcasts. I realized this one's gonna be on camera, so I had to go clean this bong.
Oh, it's so nice. Yeah, I just have joints here.
Yeah.
I have a lot of good weed though, which is nice.
Oh man, well we'll have to do a little exchange or whatever.
Yeah.
I had someone write to me and say, I'm only writing to you to find out how you clean your bong, because I'm watching the show now and that thing's crystal clear every time.
What do you use? The orange cleaner?
No, very, very simple. Just get like those coarse sea salt, like the coarsest salt you can get. You pour a bunch of that in there, and then the alcohol that's 91%, not that much, and you just shake it around in there, and everything just like strips off, and it looks like new
And he puts
again.
a little wine
That's
bottle
insane.
plug.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
It works so well. You know, I should make that some viral content for our Very Ape YouTube page.
Do a TikTok.
Yeah, I should just like,
Dude,
simple.
if you
Here's how
do-
you fucking clean a bong, man.
Guys, just master TikTok and then we're gold.
They don't like our content. They remove anything that's drug related.
Yeah, the first thing Cass
first of
posted
all-
got removed.
What did you post that got removed?
I
It was like
posted-
me and Carrie blowing bong hits on each other, and like they were like,
Oh,
no.
that got removed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, there's no weed on TikTok, or is that true? Or
No, there's no.
No, there's so I found
secret weed.
Okay,
but
so
no,
it's
really.
so what there's this contingent of like Zoomers who are doing psychedelics, but they're all like they'll talk about it and do these memes about it, but they won't actually show themselves taking it. So they'll be like, I took mushrooms, like in text, and then like they'll show like play music afterwards of them like tripping and like hugging a tree, and they're clearly tripping, but it looks like positive content. So like there's ways that like they get. But I also saw riot shit on TikTok recently. Like, I don't know. It's Chinese. It's spyware. And there's an agenda. But,
oh Lord,
God, I love me some TikTok sometimes.
I love it too. I deleted it though.
I do like it.
the main thing that concerns me is like I don't ever really directly look at it, but her and Carrie are always going on there, so I like hear it going on, and it's like very stimulating, and it seems designed for a fragmented attention span, or to further fragment your attention span. I'm not really sure what's going on, but it's pretty crazy.
Here's the thing. I find it to be one of the best communal things you can do. If you watch it with someone else, it's great. It's isolating if you don't. There's a culture there. Denise and I were talking about it because we both like it. We're probably the last people would be pegged as like TikTok connoisseurs, but like there's some inner child aspect to it when you click into the right vein. The way this stuff like hits you and makes you laugh, or like the cute stuff, or like even the deep like insightful shit, it just satisfies this like Six of Cups childlike innocence to it, and I think it's really healing. I think these Zoomers, these young kids who like predominantly are on the platform, not just all of them, but like people who are young at heart, coalesce around it because it's just like a cool thing. Yeah.
I think it's like, it's not only healing, but it's kind of like us little monkeys discovering this new thing. Like, wow, all of a sudden we have the ability to tap into so many experiences from so many places, and see what people are doing, and see what they look like, and see what they feel like, and see what makes them laugh. And like, it's this whole new level of the human experience that it wasn't like this 100 fucking years ago, less. Where like, think about how many people you would see.
100 years ago, dude, it wasn't like this when we were kids. What do you mean?
Think like 100, 200 years ago, the amount of people that you would even see within your whole life.
Oh, that's true.
Would
Yeah,
not be the
yeah.
amount that you would see within 10 minutes on TikTok. So it's like, we're so excited because we're getting to download all these new experiences and feel all these things without having to be those people, without having to travel places.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But you see, that's the secret there. I think that's what I realized about reality is I think sometimes people think they'll cut themselves off from the spectrum of reality that's suffering or painful or difficult if they feel good most of the time. Mm-hmm. And it's not that you cut yourself off. You can experience it in different ways. This is a thought I had earlier today. It's I don't need to see my kid in the hospital anymore. I went through that. I experienced what that was like when Gabe was in the hospital when he was young a few times. I'm good on that. Like, I know what the resonant lesson and juice is there. I'm not saying it won't ever happen again, but I kind of know it won't. It doesn't mean I won't ever feel that again. I can know what it's like for a mother or a father to lose their child when I see it in the news or see an example or like whatever happens, just an incident of death. You can still go into it, but you don't have to do it as you. That's something that if you really understand this stuff, you have a little bit more control than you think you do. And that's a scary thought for people, because then you start talking about things like conquering death for real.
Yeah.
Conquering it as a state of mind, of course, but like conquering death, not like I'm going to live in this physical form forever. I'm never going to, this mortal coil here isn't going to be shed like a snakeskin. But yeah, I am immortal.
But
I
not
literally
letting it
do come
control
back.
you, conquering it, not letting it be the thing that is not allowing you to live anymore. That's, to me, like conquering death. And you're going to have to do that fucking day in and day out in a way.
It gives you the zest to live. I don't know. Thinking about death makes me want to live harder and fuller and...
Yeah.
Also,
brighter.
yeah, you are immortal. Like, whether people want to face that or not, like you do live forever. It's not going to be in this exact way.
Yeah,
Don't
but
get
that's
too attached to that. But
well,
you are
that's-
immortal.
That's the big death. Like, we're going through big deaths every moment of our day. Like, this version of ourselves, this version of reality, like, okay, now that was dead. Okay, now that just died. Okay, just died again. This version of myself, that person, that state of being, but it's a freeing death, because it allows us to tap into the range of emotion and understand what's possible, like you're saying, but also what we want to feed, what kind of energy we want to feed in ourselves and our communities, in our imagination.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is at the end of the day. It's just figure out what you want to see outpictured in this reality and recognize you have the power to do that. And if you don't believe it yet, prove it to yourself. Test
Make a piece of art. Like, I mean, I feel like that's like probably the easiest, most tangible way of putting to the test of what you're talking about. Have something in your head and try to make it.
I'm still listening. I'm just going to go get weed over here.
Oh yeah, man. I'll hit this bong on camera.
You can still hear my end of it, but the mic won't pick up my stuff so well.
Oh, there's some beautiful light shining into your back room there where...
oh yeah. Dude, it's the river.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's the side of the house that faces the river.
Yeah, man. I
mighty
have my
Hudson.
exercise bike facing there, and it's fucking... No, that side is... Yeah, it faces the Hudson too, but I have a solarium.
Nice.
Like, lamb's bread. Like...
Oh, cool.
You just can get weed delivered up there?
No, I get it from the city. Like, we got a whole underground Corona community. There's a whole scene up here, guys.
There's
It's
layers
like,
to this thing.
There's layers to this
I'm
onion.
rooting for you guys, but it makes me nervous as hell.
Yeah.
No, don't be nervous. Listen, here's the thing. Corona, just, you got to know this, and you got to be comfortable just knowing this. Like, you're good. You're good. Like, it sounds like the height of hubris. It sounds like may the gods strike you down. That's if you believe in an external force in the universe that's not you. You're good. This timeline, you're good. I only say that because, like, I know I'm good, which doesn't mean I don't ever question it. I'm not a fucking delusional psychopath, but I know I'm good. There's too much evidence that says we're good related to Corona. Corona is actually, in my opinion, a very benevolent, gentle reminder from the divine feminine that's like, hey, chill the fuck out, guys. Hey, chill the fuck out. Or if you want to jump off this ride because you don't want to be in the reality where your imagination creates everything in front of your face and that freaks you out, you can die now and get off and go to a different one where this happens later. You go back to a different point in history where that's not what's going on. But for those of us who want to experience this energy, this is what's going on. That's why people feel compelled to go out and protest in the face of the virus with impunity, right? Of course, like, I get that. I mean, most people are not going to be affected by this. That's something that, like, people need to statistically at least face, regardless of how these things are adding up and how they classify Corona deaths. Also, let's be clear, just like totally clear about this shit. Hospitals and medical facilities, just if we're buying into any type of just practical things, the way this shit works is they get paid money when they designated people COVID deaths or COVID related patients. So there's a tendency, not because these are bad or evil people, but to sustain the systems that are in operation for the insurance companies, for the medical facilities that rely on this money, to, like, from the federal government, like all this stuff. So, like, let's be a little careful about, like, the percentages that we know about now. And more importantly, like people, like it's not that people we know people are in hospital, like Evan. I know people who have died within, my immediate surroundings who are connected to my family, but not members of it. So it's not that I'm saying this doesn't exist. It's just recognize the function of this stuff isn't maybe all that it seems. And I also, like, I know this is fucking kind of, people would say it's pseudoscience or just totally up batshit insane. I do believe in faith healing. I do believe that your ability to know that you can heal your body and heal yourself and recognize you will run out the pattern that leads to your best healing, that happens. Does that mean that everyone who believes that and really feels that they believe that will always be healthy and never die? No. That's not what that believes. But it means that, like, if you know you have a purpose here, if you really do, I know this sounds like Joel Osteen, like kind of fucking faith preachy shit, but it's not. Like, I can't let something like Corona dictate what, like, I introduced my, like, here's the proof is in the pudding. Corona's still going on. It's still spreading. It's still around. I introduced my dad, who had a mild heart incident last year, who smokes cigarettes, is like, technically not the person you want around Corona. But at a certain point, I made the decision that, like, in 2 months of him not seeing his grandchildren was more harmful to his health and his state of well-being than letting him see his fucking grandkids. And do I think he's going to die in the next month or 2 months from seeing his grandkids? No. Do I think he's going to die from seeing me and being in a car with me? No. Does the potentiality exist that he does? Of course. I'm not a fucking brazen, impudent asshole, but let me tell you what else I know. He ain't going to die from this shit. I know what makes people happy. I know what people put themselves on the earth to do, and it's not for him to see his grandkids and then die a death. It's for him to be around grandkids because he wanted to have grandkids because it makes his soul feel complete. So I'm not going to shield him away from that, and that's how I feel with most of my friends, but I'm acting as though it doesn't exist. I wear the mask. So, I got in a confrontation the other day in Rhinebeck.
I saw you post that on Twitter, and I was laughing my ass off. And
I missed this. What happened?
You don't even know how fucking funny it was. Dude, I couldn't believe it. I was with the kids and Denise. She was in shock, literally going to the farmer's market. This dude's on a bench. He had just eaten a donut. And I saw this guy. He seemed normal white guy. Totally, like, couldn't be more unassuming, normal person. Walking past, we had just got a special mask for Eli because I'm very considerate of other people's feelings. We all have masks. The baby doesn't have a mask. He's a fucking baby. And I walk past and the guy goes 6 feet. And I go, ha, I'm laughing. He doesn't have a mask on because he was just eating. He goes, no, I'm serious. And he jumps up and he goes, 6 feet, 6 feet. It's New York state law. And I go, you're joking, right? And he goes, no, I'm not joking. And I'm like, dude, you got to be fucking kidding me. And I have kids and I have a baby. And he's like, no, it's New York state law. And I was like, call the fucking police then. Literally call the police. And then what's funny is I realize now he has this game of, like, invisible force field. So I'm like, I have a force field now. I just took his force field. So I'm like, he's like, you go back. I'm like, no, you move. He's like, why should I move? I was sitting here. I'm like, because you're in a public space. You can move or call the police. And so, like, he moved out of the way. We walked by and that was it. But I was just like, to me, like, I didn't even get agitated. It wasn't like I was amped up. I was just like, I know why this happened. I literally run through these types of scenarios in my mind because I'm a psychopath. And I want to be in these positions where, like, there's something so ridiculously wrong with someone's behavior where I can enact out these scenes. So I was like, wow. Even someone like that has a perfect function in my reality. But
see,
yeah, man,
I was reading that thread and I was on the first tweet and I was like, oh, this is the Twitter thread where Noah reveals he had that very special moment that a father and his sons have where they watch their dad kick the shit out of some guy. I was so ready to throw down. I think my new line, though, is just call the police.
No,
and
it's a privilege I have
as
a white
person. Where he's telling them to call the police.
No, where I'm telling them to call the police on me.
Like, come on.
Because I'm like, I immediately get to the point where, like, there's a certain type of person who's going to try to enforce a 6-foot social distance rule without a mask because they're sitting on a public bench. And they're precisely the type of person who needs to make a quick decision as to whether they're willing to call the police or not on you. And, like, so I just took it there immediately. I'm like, dude, you think the police are going to come with my baby, a kid, a nice family? Like, you think they're going to talk some shit, or do you think there's a lunatic over here who's trying to enforce New York state law? It's like, what are you doing? Like, dude, come on. It's like, don't make me do it, but I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to.
Oh, man. White people, man. It's a special time.
I say it all the time. And I know it sounds fucking hypocritical, and people like you're white. I'm like, listen, I grew up I went to high school in Bethesda for 2 years, Bethesda Chevy Chase. There's no more white hoity-toity town than that, and Rhinebeck is often a reflection of it, and it's just a vibe. And I try not to judge, because it's such like, I know it's from a place of fear and insecurity and like, you know, but man, it's just like, chill the fuck out. Just chill the fuck out. Not 5 feet away. No, like 20 feet away. There's a Black Lives Matter protest with 4 people, by the way, 3 of which are white and 1 black dude in Rhinebeck. Like, guys, know your audience. You're not changing any minds here, guys.
Well, I still think that's an important show. It's like, you got to show up even more there.
Yeah.
It was great. But I mean, like, that is like, you I don't know what the right analogy is for that one. Like, it's like people, I don't even think they exist in the reality. They might have just been a figment of my imagination for all I know. Like, people are just walking by them like nothing. It's crazy. Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow. Well, dude, this was great. Fucking incredible time as always. This was part 2 of a 2-part series with us and Noah Lampert of the Synchronicity Podcast, and we're both of the Mind Pod Network.
Yeah. Oh, we gotta figure out what Mind Pod is. I've been thinking about this. Like,
to be involved with that.
I really, because like I know it is something that people, and like it's like this child that I've abandoned. If there's any energy where that's actually accurate in my life, it's with Mind Pod Network, because like it is this hub of really cool people, and I just need to give it a little TLC.
Yeah,
but
and
I also
like an abandoned child, it's grown up on its own and it's doing fine.
Yeah,
it's probably doing
fine.
better due to it. But you coming back into its life,
yeah,
will be like, whoa, yo, and like you who you are now, and like I don't know. I think Cass and I have some energy for like at least laying out. I think a way that we could collectively, you know, gain some new traction and some new following in some different pockets. And not just preach to the choir.
We have a lot of cool communities that I think are going to be coming together.
Oh, dude, it's great being on YouTube, because like YouTube, no one cares. Like people write comments on our thing that I'm like, oh, whoa, I forgot about this. Like, it's not just like any other place. It's all love, because it's like people that chose to listen on YouTube. Who knows how someone came across your thing, and they're like, oh yeah, you're talking to a racist. I'm like, this black guy where his best friends who are white people. Wait, he's racist and hates white people. Get the fuck out of here. But like, you know, you see that energy out there. It's really weird.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I also think like you just have the reflection of everything else on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm actually surprised how nice people are on my YouTube, but I just don't think people can tune into this shit.
Yeah.
It's a special type of person who's listening to a 2-part podcast of Very Ape Synchronicity. Made it this far into it. Like,
we probably know who they are.
It probably is.
Yeah.
It's a very small, unique club who we do love very deeply.
It's bigger than you think is the crazy thing. It's definitely, I've learned that. I mean,
rad.
I have essentially a living staked out on this stuff at this point, which was mind-boggling.
Nice.
But yeah, guys, shit,
well,
it's the best.
Fucking damn pleasure. And how can people find you?
Fucking iTunes, you know, podcast, Synchronicity, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon. We do a lot of we're doing smoke sessions, by the way. You should definitely come to the next one. We do these Zoom smoke sessions and live readings and fun shit. This house, I'm telling you guys, when you come here, you will see it will serve a critical role, because like I'm not always going to be here. It's a very auspicious place. It's very nice, and it is literally like the shit that I'm putting in here is like designed that no matter who is here, when they're here, it'll be like a comfortable, nice place. So yeah, it's cool.
Rad.
You'll have to introduce us to your ghosts.
Yeah. This is ghosts. Exactly. Well, they got to bring some sage in here.
Let's do it, man. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, man.
Love
All right,
you.
guys.
Love you, man.
Bye.
Love you.
Peace. And love.